Tonight on America's Dumbest Criminals. Joyriding teenagers desperately in need of driver's education. A look at what this season's best-dressed burglars are wearing. And if you think getting your hand stuck in a toilet is bad, stick around. It's only the beginning of trouble for America's Dumbest Criminals.
Delta 1566, give me a call on your
And now, welcome your host for America's Dumbest Criminals, Daniel Butler and Debbie Allen.
Tonight, we're going to take you from Arab, Alabama to Los Angeles, California.
From low-tech schemes to high-speed chases.
Well, in fact, we've patrolled the whole nation looking for textbook examples of criminal dumbness, and we've booked some prime suspects, Debbie.
Oh, great. Does that mean you're including the footage of me?
No, well, not this show. Later perhaps.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It sounds like the pace will be breathtaking, but as you're about to see, life in the fast lane isn't always what it's cracked up to be.
Now, that's what our first criminal discovered as his high-speed run from police coasted to a stop when he flat ran out of gas. Failing to check the fuel gauge is only the first in a series of troubles for this short-sighted suspect.
Let's watch as our perpetrator stumbles, fumbles, and just falls right into justice. Unable to escape from the 4 patrol cars and police helicopter that are in hot pursuit, the suspect's car starts to slow down. Was he up to something? No, he was down to E, as in empty, out of gas. With cars whizzing by, he starts to feel like he's about to be roadkill in Sans Belt slacks. Then he sees his opening, makes his move, and dashes gracefully across the highway, before falling headfirst over a short fence, spilling his loot. Now, he may have been a robber, but he was no litterbug. He hurriedly picks up after himself and scurries into the woods. Unfortunately for him, those stylish white slacks made it hard to blend in with nature. Before long, he's face down in the dirt. Who knows if those slacks will ever come clean?
He's going to jail. Who cares about the slack?
I'm a mom. I do a lot of laundry. Okay, some criminals are just plain klutzes, and others demonstrate poor judgment and shallow thinking. Well, sometimes they find out the hard way that more than their thinking is shallow. See what happens to our next suspect, who is about to take a leap of faith to elude police.
My name is Don Perryman. I'm the Chief of Police for the Saranac Lake Police Department. One of the arrests that sticks out in our mind, we were on a foot pursuit for an individual. A river runs right through our town. This person wasn't from Saranac Lake. He ran around a local business, fell off a wall and into the river. We were standing on the bank and he started to swim across the river until he found that there was a business on the other side. It was dark, he couldn't see that well. So he swam back and he says, "Okay, you got me." He said he needed some help. Help me! So we told him to just come back up and told him to stand up. He stood up and he was in 5 deep water.
Okay. See, you could have walked right across there, you know, and never gotten your hair wet.
drowned.
All right, I guess there was a reason for that no jumping from bridge sign, huh? Well, let me give you fair warning now about the photo you're about to see. It was taken by a surveillance camera. It shows a robber demanding money from a store clerk. Now, while it's neither graphic nor violent, we think you'll agree with us that this picture is deeply disturbing. Take a look at this story. In the store, he was strutting his stuff with the brashness of Madonna. But when apprehended, he turned suddenly shy. Why?
I have no idea.
Did the bra close in front or in back?
I have no idea.
Did the bra gently lift and separate?
I have no idea.
Okay, yeah, more criminals out for a night on the town when we return after this.
Welcome back to America's Dumbest Criminals. Now, you probably don't think of yourself as being as bad as, say, a burglar or a murderer, right? But have you ever broken the law? Be honest now. How about speeding? Okay, ever been pulled over? Uh-huh. Your heart is pounding, yet you try to act calm and innocent. Do you remember what excuse you gave for your lead-footedness? Well, according to police, the #1 excuse that they hear is people saying that they have to go to the bathroom. They don't say, however, whether they felt the urge before or after they saw blue lights in their rearview mirror. Well, here are 2 of America's dumbest excuses that really exceed the limits.
I'm Chief Sam McCown at the Cottonwood, Alabama Police Department. I was on routine patrol and had this vehicle come by me, and I couldn't believe it, doing 101 miles an hour. I didn't even see him. He blew by me so fast. I asked him, why are you doing 101 miles an hour? Well, I just washed my car. I'm air drying it off. It'd have been a lot cheaper to buy a towel.
Okay. You know, modern technology affords us almost miraculous possibilities when placed in the right hands. But when placed in the wrong hands, it can lead to a stupendously easy arrest. As 2 potheads with a cell phone found out when they unwittingly helped officers place them in a cell with no phone.
We received a 911 phone call from a cell phone.
Sumner County EMS.
There was a gentleman talking to someone, and you could hear music inside his vehicle. And every time there's a quiet spot in his music, we start screaming and whistling and blowing whistles and just hollering. It just does no good. They're not hearing anything we're saying, but we can hear everything they're saying.
He had stopped a couple of different places, and I was in the drug unit undercover for 5.5 years, and I just knew some of the things, the lingo that he was saying.
We got some right now. Got a little bit here. That it. Nothing else. No bag, no brick, nothing else. That's it.
Then Jody called Millersville and talked to them, then patched them through to where they could even hear the conversation on the phone.
After I realized who they were, they explained everything. They had an open line 911 call. 2 guys talking about how good this dope was. And they said, do you want to listen? And I said, sure. So they're talking about how good this doobie is that they've got, you know, how smooth it is and how good it is. So I alert my officer to stand by at 31W.
They were talking about getting munchies.
Getting a boom pipe.
And the next thing we hear on the 911 is, I think I'm gonna buy this moon pie.
A moon pie.
What they were wanting was a moon pie.
Marshmallows. Graham crackers. You are high, aren't you?
My wife and I pulled up along beside them about the same time and had the fortune, I suppose, of listening to a unique situation occur in the fact that all of their drug dealings, all of their talking, all of their evidence was on a tape recording that they had no knowledge of.
They're definitely part of America's Dumbest Criminals.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Thanks to the people who make mobile phones, it's easier than ever to reach out and nab someone. Right, Debbie?
Oh, that's a good one. I think you'll definitely agree that the criminals you're about to meet should have called 911 for assistance because they desperately needed help in pulling off their caper. Their scheme? Break a toll booth gate so that it's locked shut, then rob motorists who are unable to pass through. But things didn't work out as they planned. Watch as the not ready for crime time players present For Whom the Dumbbell Tolls. Thanks, fellas. Now a bow, but watch your heads. And now with news dug from the dumpster behind CNN, here's Daniel with ADC Headlines.
Sure, some kids today seem to have a lot of money at their disposal. But the workers at McDonald's thought it was just a wee bit odd when two teenage boys in Lepori, Indiana, paid for their food with a $500 bill. Now, even if you supersize your order, that makes for a lot of change. Did somebody say suspicious? The manager tipped off the police, who were able to link the juveniles to the robbery of a home in the area. Apparently, they thought they deserved a break-in today. Faced with charges of felony burglary, it may be a long time before these boys have another Happy Meal. You know, you've heard the old adage, crime doesn't pay. Well, sometime it can actually cost. A man in Louisiana entered a convenience store and plopped a $20 bill on the counter and asked for change. When the clerk opened the cash register, the customer pulled a gun and demanded all his money. The unlucky robber must have caught the store on a slow day because his stick-up scored him a grand total of $15. But in his haste to flee the scene, he forgot to pick up his 20. So his net earnings for the crime were -$5. All right, now, if this jailhouse is rockin', don't be knockin'. That's what the sign could have read outside a Nashville cell block. 8 male inmates attempting to break on through to the other side took a wrong turn. And instead of finding freedom, they found free love, as they were warmly welcomed by the ladies in the women's lockup. Overcome by hormones, they threw caution to the wind and their clothes to the floor. But romance was nipped in the bud when guards discovered the coupling couples and broke up their little love nest. Apparently, there's just something irresistible about a woman in a stenciled orange jumpsuit. That closes the file for this week on ADC Headlines, ripped from somewhere near the back of your local newspaper. Debbie?
Thank you, Dan. Well, it was almost a scene from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. 4 teenagers decided to skip school. A bad idea. But if you're going to skip school, you should at least have done your homework in Truancy 101. Rule number 1 is maintain a low profile. But not these 4. In the course of a 30-minute chase, they passed almost everybody in town. Instead, they led officers on a 30-minute high-speed chase through heavy traffic with patrol cars in hot pursuit. What drove them to drive so crazy? Well, they got nervous going through a school zone because they feared the policeman on duty suspected the car was stolen.
As I approached his vehicle, he accelerated, and I had to jump out of the way, and in the process of jumping, that's when I got struck in the leg.
He was unaware that the car was stolen, but now, by taking a glancing blow at a charge of vehicular homicide, the race was on. When they should have been at school passing tests, they were passing cars left and right.
The driver was going to attempt to get on 14 the opposite direction. He was trying to make this opposite direction. We could have several accidents.
Eventually, they were stopped by a light, literally. Their day of skipping school had come to an abrupt end, but their days in detention were just beginning. And the officer might want to think about another assignment, considering he had just returned to the job after being run over by another driver.
Just what does one wear to a crime? Polo, Sam's Club, it's hard to know. Unlike the gentleman in the bra we witnessed earlier, we learned of a burglar and a robber who went to great lengths for looks that would be simple yet surprising. First, let's take a peek at an outfit selected for a little late-night prowling.
Here we see our criminal entering an electronics store with a plastic bag over his head. We see him, but he can't see anything. Ouch! He bangs his head, bruises his pride, and manages to set off an alarm. Moments later, he returns with a new and improved disguise. Outfitted with eye holes and a flashlight, he manages to get away with $1,600 worth of electronics. But officers recognized him as a man in uniform, a mall security guard uniform.
Once identification was made, they picked him up, interviewed him, and recovered the property. He's a long way from being a mastermind at doing criminal acts. If they were all with this type of criminal mind, we could catch everybody that does a crime.
You've heard that you can fix anything with enough duct tape? Well, try salvaging this man's ego, huh?
Probably one of the dumbest is one that I've met recently. Wanted to be an armed robber. Walked into the place, encased it, decided it was right for the robbery, and went outside to his truck to find something to hide his face. It was his work truck, and he had no mask or anything in there, anything that would hide his face, so we found a roll of duct tape, and he proceeded to wrap his face in the tape to hide his identity. It seemed like a good plan until he went back inside and announced that it was a robbery. Nobody could understand him because he'd forgotten and wrapped his mouth. The frustration immediately became panic when he realized he'd also forgotten to leave a place to breathe. He began to lose consciousness, and as he did and started toward the floor, two customers helped him to the floor and held him until the police arrived. He seemed to be really upset with the fact that the policeman had been less than gentle when he removed the tape. That's the one that kind of wins my award for America's Dumbest Criminals.
Oh, yeah. But hey, you know, I mean, that guy never had to shave again. But now, okay, now what fashion tips can we pick up from these stories? All right, well, 1, your choice of headgear must be functional. 2, for greater comfort, always choose materials that breathe and allow you to do the same, okay? All right, don't move a muscle, America's Dumbest Criminals. We'll be right back.
Here on America's Dumbest Criminals, we make a real effort to stay away from bathroom humor.
We do?
Okay, I make a real effort to stay away from bathroom humor, but sometimes a story comes along that just gets down on its knees and begs to be told.
Yeah, well, such is the case of a marijuana-toting criminal who got down on all fours in an attempt to rescue his pot from the potty of the local jail. See how things go down the pipes from there.
One of the dumbest incidents that I've ever had in my career as a correctional officer was one night about 12 years ago. We had 2 inmates that were housed in a slammer. We were fixing to do a shakedown of their slammer to make sure they didn't have any contraband. And this one man decided he would hide his baggie of marijuana inside the toilet. The other inmate that was his roommate went to knocking on the door, yelling for us to come back. So we went over there and said, "What's wrong with you?" And he says, "My roommate here's got his arm caught in the toilet." I said, "You're kidding, you're kidding." He said, "No, Sarge." He says, "I'm not kidding, I'm not kidding." He said, "He's caught in the toilet." And I looked, and there was this man. He had his whole arm all the way up to here. We pulled and we pulled and pulled, and we couldn't get this man out. His roommate, when he was digging for the contraband, had flushed the toilet at the same time. And the suction here, it just pulled his arm and hand on down in there, and he was caught. So then I called the maintenance man. They freed the toilet and the sink, and he didn't get loose. And so I called the fire department. They determined that they wanted to pick the inmate up, sink, toilet and all, load him on a truck, and take him to their fire station, where they would have to use a torch of some kind to cut him free. They got him free, but it was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
Okay, perhaps that's enough for now.
I think so.
Join us next week on America's Dumbest Criminals, when surveillance camera footage will reveal a woman caught red-handed stealing gallstones.
Oh, disgusting.
Yes, I said gallstones.
And if you've got a lead on a story or just can't wait till next week for more state-of-the-art stupidity, visit our website at www.dumbcrimes.com.
We want to thank you for joining us tonight and extend our gratitude to the law enforcement officers who make this show possible. Every day, they lay their lives on the line to keep us safe from the stupidity of would-be criminals.
As always, we hope we've learned from the mistakes of others.
And if you haven't, we might just see you next week on America's Dumbest Criminals.
Bye-bye.
Closed captioning provided by